Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to our April Inclusion and Wellbeing Forum. We're all very welcome today. As always, we are recording the session, so please be mindful, and we will post the recording on our YouTube channel along with all of the other sessions that we've recorded over the past 6 years. So if you need to check any sessions from any of the wonderful experts who we've had join us on the forum, pop over to our YouTube channel. I've popped the link in the chat and you can find all of our recordings there. As always, we welcome everyone. We ask you to keep your mics off unless you have a question, in which case feel free to raise your hand or type it in the chat and I can call it out for John. We would like to listen to the presentation, so please try to avoid any interruptions or any excess noise or anything. And if you have a question or some feedback, please keep it focused on students. While we welcome any questions or any comments, we ask that you don't name any schools or students in particular, rather keep it quite vague so as to protect data and people. We welcome industry experts. You're welcome to listen. However, this is a free forum and we do not have any promotional product or sponsorship from anyone at this time. We are today welcoming the wonderful Jon Ford, who is one of the founders of YouHQ, which is an absolutely wonderful tool that's gaining huge popularity across the UAE. And it works really well, especially around well-being at this time when we're hearing so many cases of students' well-being and teachers' well-being being disrupted. Without further ado, I will stop sharing and hand over to John, and let's get going with the presentation. Okay. Thank you so much, John.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you for everybody who's joining. Appreciate your time. I can imagine working in education in your region at the moment is very challenging. As I was just saying to Catherine, I'm pretty well versed with these type of presentations now. I've been doing it for sort of 6 years, but I must admit I do have a feeling of sort of slightly uncomfortable because I appreciate that you guys are going through a lot at the moment. I'm currently in the UK, so for me to sit here and talk about well-being to you guys, I can imagine things are hard. So the first part of this presentation is very much going to be about seeing the whole child and why we believe and why well-being data matters. And I'm going to show you some information and detail around how you can start supporting students with data, with your well-being check-ins. And then I'm going to spend the sort of second half and I will sort of demo what YouHQ is. YouHQ is currently free for all schools in the Middle East during the conflict. And I really want to try and push that home, that there's no sales pitch post the pilot. It's not no obligation to carry on. We genuinely want to try and support students. We know that there's some really it's really tough times out there for students and for you staff. So we want to try and support you. But to start with, I'm going to start with a story about a girl called Beth. Now, Beth was was a young person, a teenager, and to most people, she looked like a normal teenager, maybe slightly quiet, slightly timid, but internally, she was having some real challenges. She was attending a big state secondary school, and she just really struggled with things that most kids wouldn't struggle with. So noisy corridors, she was struggling with just the lights, busy classrooms. She was diagnosed autistic. So every day she would come home from school and she would explode. It would be overwhelmed, tantrums, and it got to some points where her younger sister had to be moved out of home because for her own safety, because some of Beth's outbursts were so hard. But Beth didn't know what was going on. She was having real internal struggles. Beth was a fighter. She kept on going. She wouldn't give up, but every day was a real challenge for her. And unfortunately, it got to a point in her life where she thought, I'm not going to go to school anymore. And for her parents at that time, it was like, well, what do you do with a teenager not going to school, has severe OCD, and is just really struggling with life. And unfortunately, things got worse. At the beginning of last year, she lost both her grandparents, and she decided at that point she wasn't going to go to school again. Now, she'd been going to sort of the odd day in school, but really just spending that day in the SEND room, not doing any learning, nothing at all. And it got to a point where the school was trying to do everything, but the school had dozens of Beths. They were doing everything they could, but one thing changed, and it was a real light bulb moment for Beth, is that a member of staff, a lady called Miss Copeland, she was trained psychologically and she came in very young, and she picked up that Beth was like really struggling and she was not going to be able to do anything. And one of those days, and this is the beginning of her GCSE year, where she decided she wasn't going to go in, but she went in for like one day into an SEND classroom. And this lady just realized that we really got to do something. And she went beyond her normal day-to-day role, which I know all of you out there probably do this on a especially if you're in SEN inclusion and wellbeing. And she found Beth a school, a different school. It was a school especially for autistic girls. They had a limited number in the classroom, so that was obviously a game changer. But also really simple things, like they took the lights out of the classroom, like the fluorescent lights, same teacher. And Beth went from zero to hope. And in the space of, and this was only in February last year, her GCSEs were coming in June, she did her mock exams. Now, she hadn't been to a lesson and never done an exam, so she went to do that, and then she managed to pass all of her GCSEs. She did 5 GCSEs, and she is now training to become a teacher. She has the goals of becoming the youngest head teacher globally, which is a bit of a crazy goal. She still has her challenges, but because of that one member of staff that made that change, she has, she's just taking on the world. And I ask you today, like, how many Beths do you have that are hiding in the background that nobody necessarily knows much about? And also, we know that staff, you have the will, but maybe you don't have the tools. Now, I talk to you about this story because I'm extremely passionate about well-being and inclusion, but I also tell you about that story because in actual fact, Beth is my daughter. So she extremely proud of her, but she has literally changed, her life has changed, our lives have changed because of that one member of staff who picked up on her and made the effort. And this is why I do what I do. We know that there is a huge issue out there across the world where kids are struggling. Outside of any world conflict, before any of this started, kids are masking, and there's a number of students out there that are struggling that we're not aware of. And we know that 5 children in a classroom of 30 are likely to have a mental health problem and sometimes these go undiagnosed. So my daughter in the UK, we couldn't get necessarily any support for her. I know in different regions of the world things are different, but it's extremely challenging to get support to these students. And we also know that the majority of these mental health and wellbeing issues do happen during teenage years, which is when they're at school. And this is why schools are that spot where you can, kids, you can find stuff out, kids will present in different ways. And I think from the network that Catherine, that you're in, hearing around like all the different things that you're trying to do to support kids with special educational needs, I think teachers are doing an amazing job. But actually what we're trying to do and what we're trying to support is actually, what are the tools? Can we be somebody in your corner to help you one, identify those students and support them? So we know that the issues are huge, and I can imagine right now those issues have just exploded, and even more hard, you're not in front of them. So not being in front of them having more issues, what is there available to be able to support you? So yeah, today I'm just going to take you through a little bit about why it's important to measure wellbeing, and then at the end, I'm going to give you some free tools to be able to use to hopefully be able to monitor and track some students at home, but also when you come back to school, because it will happen. You will come back to school, and I think it's important that these things aren't just lost during remote time, and you can carry them on when you go into school. And then I'll spend the final part, like I say, and I'll demo actually what YouHQ can do, and it's free for you to use during the conflict, so I can go through that. So why is it important to measure wellbeing? Well, for the story that I've just told is obviously a really important thing to be able to pick up on those students. So back in 2020, during COVID, it seems quite weird that we're talking to you guys. It seems COVID-y world that we're in, but the UK government and Public Health England came out with a mental health toolkit, and it recommended that you measure well-being. And there's three core strands to that of why we should be doing that. Number one is we can get a snapshot, so we can get an idea, a global idea of where all your kids are at. So I can imagine at the moment, kids all over the place, all over the world. Some have flown away. Actually, where is everybody at? What's their well-being? Who's happy? Who's not so happy? It's really important to do that. The middle one, probably the most important one, and this is what we found out with YouHQ when we first started, is that we wanted to create a platform to help kids' emotional well-being, but actually by offering a student voice survey, it basically was a way to identify kids that were struggling, and it became very much a safeguarding tool. So it helps you identify the kids that are doing well, but it will also help you, and more importantly, help you with the kids that are really struggling. So another really important point of why we should be measuring well-being. And then finally, and again, another really important part of the jigsaw puzzle is then, okay, we've got all of this data. What does it mean? What can we do with it? And how can we do better next time? And how can we improve our strategy moving forward from the data we've got? So what we're already finding now, sort of 6 years into the business and sort of 3-4 years heavily being used, is that that rich student voice data around how kids are feeling and what's happening in school can really inform what you do next term, next year, around the different data. So yeah, really, really important. So those are the three things. I'm going to touch on a few of them. So I will go on to, so from a monitoring perspective, like I say, that identification part is really important. So YouHQ, and I'm sure lots of other systems out there that do similar tracking, is picking up on kids that are struggling that won't reach out for help. And I think that's probably the kids that are the most concerning, and the ones that we're really worried about are the ones that might act like they're absolutely fine, but actually are having some real challenges. Now, if you present them with a survey that actually, or a platform or something where they feel safe and they trust it, they may potentially reach out for help more likely on a system like that. And that's what we're finding. So we're picking up on between 5 and 30 kids per 1,000 that otherwise would not be picked up on. And that's not from just our tool. I'm pretty sure that's probably globally, that if you do offer a way for a child to reach out digitally in lots of different ways, you will pick up on more kids that are struggling and hopefully get help in there. We know some sort of stories of kids being suicidal, thinking of taking their own life, and YouHQ, an alert has sort of picked up on that process before anything's happened. So although that's we have to talk about that, it does become, this tracking does become that, and I know that probably there are students out there that are struggling even more so at the moment, and this is why this is so important. And now I guess I would like to open this to the floor, really, actually. So I don't know how I open the chat feature on here, but maybe you can read them out, Catherine. But it'd be great to get people just to comment in the chat of why if it's so obvious and so so why it's so obvious it's a good thing to do, why are schools not doing it, or why are some schools not doing it and some schools are? It'd be really good to get an understanding from the network out there, maybe if your school is doing it, but why they're not doing it fully, or why your school isn't doing it. Is it I'm sure there's lots of things going around people's heads, but yeah, it'd be good to just put it in the chat.
So the chat is, if you go down to the bottom right and you see the little lock, then there's a series of dots. It's the one next to that, the little kind of
Ping Paul messages. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've asked, why might schools avoid to support well-being?
Oh yeah, avoid measuring, I guess, is what we're after. Why do schools not necessarily do this as a standard?
So we've got 61 people on the call, guys. Come on, can someone think? What do you think? What might the barriers be for schools? Might it be there are often worries around reporting here in the UAE, because sometimes the reporting is a little bit tricky depending on the severity or the case. Very often people are a little bit reluctant to engage in anything around sexual abuse or sexual misconduct, and it's a scary space, especially for teachers. Mona, thank you so much for your response. So no resources. Sumaya, a lack of resources or a lack of knowledge. Very honest answers here. Sarah, thank you. Scarcity of resources, geography, culture, expense, awareness of available resources, and taboo. I think taboo is definitely a big one. And then Nasreen, thank you. Academics overtake it. We have a lack of sensitivity. Hira, time constraints. This is something you'll hear a lot, John. Time constraints, like teachers are overwhelmed. The amount of paperwork and documentation, the expectations are crazy. And I see it all the time as an inspector when we're in schools. Like, schools think that they have to provide huge amounts of documentation for an inspection. You don't, guys. Honestly, you don't. It's the schools themselves that generally put that pressure on teachers rather than the inspection process.
Yeah.
So some really good insights there. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. So I mean, we've been doing this for a few years now, and some of the comebacks we get from pastoral leads of why they may not sign up to YouHQ. So yeah, I've got some of these noted down, as you can imagine. So curriculum time. So is obviously always the biggest killer. Like, actually, if I do measurement of well-being, one, I've got to do the measure, I've got to find time for the kids to do the survey. What comes back from the survey? What do we do with the survey? So that's definitely one. Technology. I think in the UAE, actually, technology isn't the barrier sometimes, because most schools do have devices. But normally, if a school doesn't have devices, how do we get students onto a device to be able to do a digital check-in? Legislation. So we know in now ADEC and in the UAE, they are saying you've got to do it. So I feel like legislation actually is for it in your region, where they are saying you do need to start measuring well-being. So that's, I think, a positive. Financial, normally these systems cost money. So sometimes people think, actually, it's going to cost me a lot of money to be able to subscribe to a system. The actual essence of it is actually you save time, which would save money, because you may not need as many people. So yes, finance doesn't tend to stack up, but sometimes it is finance. Lack of knowledge, and I think some of the things you said on some of those chats, it was very much around what did we say? Scarcity culture. And I think that sort of comes into the lack of understanding of what these surveys are going to produce. Some people are very concerned of, oh my God, if we ask kids how they're feeling, what could they say, and what's the ramifications of that, and should we be asking? So I think training, lack of knowledge is sometimes one of the things. And then finally, we had workload. So sometimes, especially we find this in the UK, is that schools are again scared of the work they think this could create. Well, actually, when you start using it, you'll realize that actually this saves time, builds better relationships. It's a preventative tool. So yeah, those are the things. So I think it's always really good to it's the elephant in the room, isn't it? Okay, why, if well-being and mental health is so important, why are we not doing more about it? And I think sometimes these can be the reasons why. So moving on, I'd like to again just go to the floor and ask you guys, what tools currently are you using to help identify those who need more support? So yeah, it'd be really good on the chat if anybody's out there too who's using a tool, or is using maybe not a tool, they're doing it like handwritten. It'd be really good to know what you're currently doing to try and identify those students who need more support.
So guys, if you can put it in the chat. Equally, if anyone wants to raise their hand and contribute, you're more than welcome to talk. more than welcome. We're happy to have you guys. So think, what tools are you using? It might be simple surveys. It could be Google Forms. You might be using it on your LMS or your student management system. How are you guys gathering feedback? So here, I thank you very much. What tools are you using currently? Okay, Sarah, S4S, Switch for Schools, something our school employs for students' emotional check-in. I haven't heard of that one.
Right.
Observation and time survey, Google Forms shared every day with students. Thank you, Omnia. Thank you, Sumaya. Any other ones, guys? Pika Pack from Elysia, thank you. Any other tools? Have you heard of these ones, John?
I've heard of Komodo, heard of Pika Pack. Yep. So they're all sort of, I guess, similar to YouHQ. Obviously not as good, but they're similar.
He'll kill us.
Okay, that's cool. Okay, we've got a good blend. So we've got some paid for tools, and then we've got some like Google Forms. So yeah, I'll be going through some of the things that you can do. So it's really good to hear there's people out there using these and really investing their time in this sort of stuff. So and I guess it just, we don't need to go back out and ask these questions, but it's just really good to have a think about, okay, what tools are we using? How are you recording the data? So where does that data sit? How you're enacting those data, and what do you do around next steps of that? And I think one thing Catherine mentioned, and I heard only last week, is ADEC's policy around check-ins, their online remote working framework of what they're expecting schools to do, which I think is very thorough by the sounds of it. But actually, with a really busy workload, trying to do lots of different things, it sounds quite challenging for you to be able to do all of that in a school day. And I think that's where these systems, such as the tools that we're talking about now, can really help you do those check-ins. So and make sure that you are checking in with those students. So I think it's really advantageous to try and have something in place. But then what do you do with the data? So, and this is where I feel like it's become very interesting for us as a business over the last few years, is the data that we're now seeing through the system coming through, and we obviously don't see, it's all anonymous, but when a child on YouHQ does the mood check-in, they will then be asked a reason why they're feeling a certain way, and they are giving a choice of attributes, and you can see some of these on the screen here. So they can say that they feel good because of school clubs, and they can choose a selection of things. We've now got 1 million of these, 1 million attribute votes across the world. And what's really interesting is that sleep is the highest by 100%. And we know that our competitors, some of those companies that you've just noted down, are saying the similar thing. And I think for schools individually to know what is bothering kids, what's making them feel good, what's making them feel not so good, is really important data, because you can then use that data to inform your strategy moving forward. So we know that schools are currently, or UHQ schools, are now realizing that they've got to focus on giving kids some really good curriculum time on how to get a good night's sleep. What does healthy sleep look like? We're not saying we can make them sleep better, because there's lots of other factors in getting a child to do something, as we all know. But what we can do is say, actually, we've taught all our year 7s the principles of a good night's sleep. We've told them that, so at least they know and understand that. And that's what the data, all the data that you're capturing. Yes, it's really important. This is the evaluation part, is what I'm getting at. The bit, those 3 bits, is the snapshot. That's actually doing the survey, identification, and then what do you then do with that data? The evaluation part's really important. So what you can do on UHQ is be able to see the trends over time, and you can do this by class. So classes can even, like, if you have a Wellbeing Wednesday check-in time, which is tend to be what we advise schools to do, and then they have 10-20 minutes to look at some of our resources, they could maybe focus on sleep if that's what's coming through on your system. And then we also get the what's a good read, like what's making them feel good from a school perspective. So you can actually start looking at your school strategy. So as you can imagine, this is real data that was taken sort of a few months ago from our system. You can see that schoolwork is actually one of the top positive reasons, but it's also one of the top negative reasons. So that's, I think, quite interesting in itself, is it's not, you need to look at all of the data and take some of it with a bit of a pinch of salt. But then you will look at grades. So, sorry, exams. Exams are pretty high on the negative side as a top negative, along with homework. But again, you've got a lot of kids saying that they actually enjoying homework. This is global data, and you'll see differences, obviously, when you look at this from a individual class, year group level, which you can drill down into. So some of you out there are already doing this, and I'm just going to give you just a couple of insights into how you can start doing this measurement of well-being. There's lots of ways of doing it without you spending physical cash on a subscription, and I'm just going to go through some of the pros and the cons of this. So you can build your own, and I saw somebody come out with Google Forms, Microsoft Forms, and I would actually sometimes advise schools to give that a go to start with, just to see how time consuming that is, see how effective it is, what can you do with the data. I think it's a really good starting point. So it's fully in your control. You obviously, Microsoft, if you're a Microsoft school, you'll have all of the toolkit. Your IT guys will be all over it, and you'll be able to make it fully bespoke. So there's some real positives to that. Paid for tools, what are the positives for that? So any of the paid for tools, there's going to be less time required setting up. There's going to be less time required maintaining it. So that's a real positive. So I think sometimes when people look at costs, actually that's where the cost benefit comes in, because it will be taking you less time. Hopefully, definitely with our system, but the analytics, so you'll be able to access these analytics, what I've just shown you there, have resources built for you. So you obviously won't get that with a build your own system. We integrate with lots of different systems. So we integrate with your MIS, your management information system. We also integrate with safeguarding partners like CPOMs and My Concern, if schools out there are using them. So our low mood alerts go directly into CPOMs, saving you time. And I think, to be brutally honest, most of these systems, especially ours, we're not just a survey tool. So I think what I'm talking about today is very much just a survey. So if you're looking for a survey, I think building your own sometimes is a good option. We offer resources at the back end of the survey. So I think those are some of the pros for both of those. And then just the negatives for both of those options. So building your own, what we hear is it does take time, and I think what we hear a lot of schools that they will start doing it. They'll start at the beginning, and some of you may already be doing this, so please excuse me if that's already, you're way ahead of the curve for some of you, but some of you may have started with this, tried it, and then thought, actually this takes a lot of time. Managing the surveys, managing the data is really hard and time consuming. So these are some of the reasons why you may not do it anymore. And I guess from a paid for perspective, you've got cost, and there's always, make sure if you're going to a third party to be able to do all of this, the data that is being collected by a wellbeing survey is really sensitive. It's high class GDPR data. So just make sure whoever you sign up to, the data privacy is all good, and it's stored in the right place. So that's pretty much my overview. What I'm going to spend the next, I guess, 15-20 minutes is I'm just going to show you what YouHQ looks like for a school, and what the free version you would be able to implement within a few days if you went with YouHQ during the conflict that's going on at the moment. So let me just jump in and see how I can do that. Hang on a sec.
Yep. Okay. And just to remind you guys, I've pinned a message to the top where you can find all of our contact details. You can follow us on Inclusion. You can find the YouTube channel where all of our recorded videos are. You can please like and subscribe, because that helps us to gain traction and reach more and more people as well. Okay, here we go.
Thanks, Catherine. So yeah, this is our, can you see this okay, Catherine?
Yes,
good?
we can.
Yeah, good. Okay, so our system, it's K-12, so it grows with the child. So you can use this from year 1 up to year 12. I'm going to be showing you very quickly now the middle school version. This is for year 4 up to year 8 or 9, and the platform is its own application, so it can sit on the child's iPad, phone. YouHQ stands for their headquarters, so it's your place. The idea of YouHQ is more than a survey tool. It's very much enabling schools, kids to self-reflect, say how they feel. You'll be able to capture that data, pick up on those kids that are struggling, but then we do way more than that, and I'll show you how that works now. So when they first log in, they'll be presented with a survey. This is the World Health Organization Wellbeing Survey. This was recommended in Public Health England's Toolkit for Schools, Mental Health Toolkit for Schools, and it asks students to grade how they're feeling over the past 2 weeks. This will automatically populate. One thing that we have added to our platform is we have an accessibility widget. So the platform does, and it can come in any language. So it does come in Arabic. It comes in lots of different languages here. But also for all those in inclusion, the platform has lots of different accessibility modes. So it has motor impaired, blind, dyslexia mode, has an ADHD mode. So students can actually go down here and select what profile they want before they carry on with their surveys. I'm going to carry on. I'm going to zip through the survey. We picked this survey because it was really straightforward to do. We know time is tight. Time has always been a constraint. It's a validated survey, but it's really simple and straightforward to do. And as you can see, I did that in just a few seconds. Once they do that WHO5 survey, that will create a percentage score. So the WHO5 gives you a 0 to 100 score, and that will go into your teacher dashboard. Our most powerful but simplest tool is our mood checker, though. So this is the platform that will highlight those kids that are struggling, and kids, when they have to basically grade how they're feeling on this mood checker. If I click on the lowest face, that will send me into a mood support feature, which will allow them to then think about what mood and emotion that they're feeling. So we're trying to build emotional intelligence here, and then they can contextualize that further. And then this is the attributor, so they can then give a reason to why they're feeling that way. So if I click exams and click finish, if I've clicked on the lowest face, that will send an alert directly to a member of staff that's associated with that student. So the alert will go through and it will say Jon Ford has registered a 1 out of 5, and it's because he's feeling this way, and you'll get all of that insight. Now, that alone has picked up on lots of kids that are struggling, but also to make people aware that sometimes people get concerned that low mood alert, we're going to get loads of those. What actually 85% of the mood check-ins are positive. It's only 15% that are negative or hit that lower threshold, and even the lower sort of the low mood is even lower than that. So yeah, that is what we tend to do, is rather than just capturing the data for you, we do the what next. So okay, I've said I'm not feeling good, I'm a bit stressed. I've then got resources on the system, and this is where we're very different to the rest of the competition, is that we have resources behind the survey. So if I say I'm not feeling good, I've actually got resources, or I'm feeling stressed, to be able to support me. These are podcasts, videos, quizzes, that can help support the student at source. They are UAE specific. We very much know that the UAE culture is different to here in the UK sometimes, so we have created resources that are they watch and they do. So yeah, lots of different things that they can do in their own time. On top of those, we also have a learning hub. There's a journaling area, but there is a whole learning hub with all of those resources in. So there's a relaxation area where all of those relaxation resources are specifically good for now. But we've also uploaded resources around, for example, news stories, going through stressful times. So there are UAE specific things around what's going on at the moment, as well as what you're seeing here. On top of those relaxation areas, we've actually got a PERMA-led wellbeing framework. So if you have PSHE, social emotional learning, in your school, this can form part of this. It's based on PERMA, which is the most well-established wellbeing framework in the world, and PERMA is stands for positive emotions, engagement, relationships, meaning, accomplishment, and health. Now, students can access this 24/7, and they can learn across the different activities. And these are mini quizzes that kids can do either in school, outside of school, and again, teach them around, for example, better sleep. And they can go across this over time, and you'll be able to see this as a member of staff to see what they've completed. Schools are using that in a Wellbeing Wednesday, but they're also using that in PSHE lessons. And the idea is it's youhq.co.uk, Anuna. I'll go through at the end. I'll show you if you want to find out more about what we do and actually access this discovery portal. I'll be putting that in the chat later. So yeah, lots on the Learning Hub that can form part of a check-in, or it can, I mean, what we're finding is real life example. We've got a school in Dubai, lots of schools, we've got 45 schools in the UAE at the moment using YouHQ. One school currently is making school kids do this check-in, jump into YouHQ every morning at the moment, and then they get 10 minutes to go off and do one of these resources. So that's how it's working at the moment.
John, what I was thinking might be really useful, particularly for our Abu Dhabi cohort here, because that could possibly act as one of your check-ins for the week.
Yeah, definitely. And I can show you how you can see that and all the data that can back that up from an ADEC perspective as well. There is a support area, so kids can actually request a check-in. So this is a way that you could actually say to kids, this is how you can request a check-in. They click on a box here, that will send an alert to you to have a check-in. You can also write a message in here, and that will go directly to a member of staff. This part on the right-hand side is bespoke to every school. So on setup, you can change these emergency telephone numbers. So there are emergency numbers for students to put in, for you as a school to put in, and for students to be able to be signposted too. There's lots more on here. There's goal setting. They can create their own avatar with the currency of gold that they earn. All the resources are there for them. I'm just going to spend the next 5-10 minutes just talking about the data. So kids obviously have all of that 24/7. They can reach out for help. They've got the resources to support them that's linked to the mood that they're feeling. But then you as a school, as members of staff, can then see all of the mood and wellbeing data coming through. So on your main page here, you can see the kids that have registered a low mood, and you can see if they've had a check-in. You can see the kids that have requested a check-in, and if somebody has actually done that check-in with them. From a safeguarding concern, you can record safeguarding concerns. You can get a really nice overview of where all your kids are at from a mood perspective. From a mood and wellbeing data perspective, you can see the mood over time. So you can start looking at that. I'm presuming that there's going to be a bit of a dip if you run this from a normal school time to currently now, but again, would be useful to be able to see. And like I was showing you in the earlier presentation around attributors, what we're able to see here is per school, per year group, per class, what is it that your kids are saying that's bothering them and making them feel good from a personal perspective and from a school perspective. And schools in the UAE are currently using this to inform their strategy and their wellbeing strategy moving forward. You will also can get granular data, and this is where I believe from the ADEC perspective, the data for each individual student comes in. So as you'll be able to see here, you can see the current mood that the students logged, but you can also see their WHO5 score, their World Health Organization wellbeing survey they do every 2 weeks. So you can see that data here. Let's just say, for example, you do get this, by the way, emailed weekly, so you don't have to log in every 5 minutes. It will automatically come to you. But let's just say Abdul here has registered a low mood and he said he's feeling angry. You can record a check-in, and it's really straightforward. You just tick that box, and that will just log that Jon Ford has just done a check-in with Abdul at a certain time. If you want to add a note, you can just add a note, write a note, checked in, all good, and then press save. And again, that will log as a check-in, and you'll be able to see that child's been checked in. And check-in, from a check-in perspective, you'll be able to see that. If I jump back to the dashboard, you'll be able to see that in the check-in box here. You'll be able to see the number of check-ins that have been done in a period of time. So again, hopefully that can help with the current check-in process that you're doing. Just to be clear on this, is you can't do a check-in, you can't contact or communicate with a student via YouHQ. We're very much, you get the data into you, and then it's down to obviously the member of staff to check in. We did that purposely because we are very much around relationships, connection. We believe that actually if a child is struggling, it should be a human connection. Obviously very hard right now, and I get that. So right now, obviously, you would have to lean on whatever you're doing your chats with your students, whether that's Teams, text message, whatever you're doing with parents. But yeah, you'll be able to definitely get all of the notifications, all of the information into this dashboard. But when you check in with the student, yeah, that's currently would have to be a physical thing, that you'll lean on other things that you've got going on, communication systems. All of our resources are here, so you can actually run and use, like for example, those sleep courses. You can run that as a lesson. We have physical activity as well. So my co-founder is an ex-PE teacher, so we've got lots of movement and mindfulness resources on here. So if you're trying to get your kids active, there are some courses and resources to be able to play, but you can run these as a lesson if you were running short of lessons to do during this period of time. So a check-in could form part of, go away, do your check-in, and then you could run one of these activities with the kids. You can directly share resources as well with students. So if you think you've got a student that's really suffering with anxiety, you can search for an anxiety resource on here and then directly share it with them. If they've got an email address, it will log an email. You can even do it with a class as well. So you can directly share a whole resource with students as well. There are other surveys you can run. I would say probably in this moment in time, the WHO5 and the mood check is fine. You can run other student surveys. We are getting asked for that, so you can ask bespoke questions to your students. We do have staff wellbeing on here as well. So we have a My Wellbeing area for staff, so they can do anonymized wellbeing surveys. We know that staff wellbeing is as important, without a doubt. So hey, some thumbs up going on here. So there is a staff wellbeing area here, so you can set your own goals and values, do your own surveys. These are anonymized, but staff and schools can start looking at the mood and wellbeing data of staff as well. If I jump back in there, because that got so many thumbs up, I need to go back into it. Hang on. So if I go back to the staff area, so let's just say you go to your area, you do your WHO5 survey, you do your mood check, view staff data only. They'll be able to see anonymized data of where all their staff's at. And we've also put on staff resources as well. So there's relaxation things for staff. I appreciate there's lots of stuff going on over there. So yeah, staff wellbeing is as important. That's pretty much it. I'm gonna finish with just a bit on the website actually. So share this tab instead. So yeah, if you do want to find out more, this is our website. Oh,
and I'll share the links to the website and to your LinkedIn on the chat, so
cool.
people can come check you out.
Yeah, I don't know where the website's gone. Let me just jump back in and I'll see whether somebody's hitting thumbs up a lot. Thank you.
Maybe I need your leaning on the thumbs up or something, perhaps.
Yeah, for some reason I can't seem to share my screen. I'm going to stop sharing. But yeah, go to UHQ. I'll put it in the chat. UHQ.co.uk.
I put it there. I pinned it to the top there.
Yeah. So the best way to go about it is to book a demo. On the top right corner of our website, there's a book a demo page. It'll be with me. I appreciate you probably won't get a full demo.
Let me share it for you.
You can share the website. I don't know why my website wasn't. It wasn't on the web. I don't think it's the website. I think it was. Yeah, there you go. That's it.
All right. So
yeah. So it's uhq.co.uk. Book a demo, and you can. Yeah, jump in, and we probably won't need to do a full demo, but if you want me to share a demo with other people, we can do that. It's fully free. One other thing to know is we are doing it. So there is an offer at the moment, like I say, completely free for schools during this conflict. Anisha's definitely leaning on the iPad or leaning on something. I'm appreciating all the love hearts. So yeah, it's completely free. There's no obligation at the end of it. Yes, it'd be great if the school that signs up carries on using YouHQ, but you don't have to.
It's okay. Thank you, Anish. All right, guys. Well, thank you.
Any questions, I guess, is that the next thing.
Any questions, guys? We have Jon all to ourselves now for another couple of minutes before we finish out. We topped out at over 80 people. I think people are dropping off now again just because we've pretty much finished. But if anyone has any questions, we've got a lot of thank yous, a lot of bless your work. So, and it really is valuable work, especially when we have kids who are and teachers who are very often isolated during this time, and it can be very isolating. Okay, guys, as I said already, we will be posting the video once I've got it edited in the next day or two. We'll post it up online on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is pinned at the top. And if you have any questions or anything for Jon, just hop on the website and you'll be in touch with him directly. Okay, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Stay safe. Have a good one.
Jon, take care, guys. Ma salama. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.